the internet would like you to believe that we are going to get Edge versus John Cena or John Cena versus Adam Copeland, because last night on AEW Dynamite, or actually after All Out, that's when the footage was from, Christian Cage was icing his neck. Adam Copeland barged in and said, listen, man, I've got to go away. I've got to take some time to take care of my family, and I don't know if I'll ever be back, because, of course, FTR had Spike Part-Drive Beth Phoenix after their match. This has now fueled incredible speculation on the internet, so we're going to talk about it today. And here's how I feel about it. I don't think it's going to happen. There you go. Sorry to pop your bubble. All I know is this. Percy Jackson is a movie, a TV show, whatever the flub, is filming right now. It started filming at the end of August. I do believe that Edge / Adam Copeland / Cope / Adam, whatever you want to call him, is part of that. So I would presume he's off to film that instead. Now, I could be wrong. I don't know about this. I did some research, which is something that nobody wants to do in 2025. And it seems very likely that he needs some time off to film some stuff. MJF is doing the same. He began a movie on Monday, I believe, after All Out, which is why he wasn't on the show. And I think all of this is great. I think all of this is awesome. We have 52 weeks of programming a year. Pro wrestling never stops. So if the wrestlers involved can go out and be involved in outside projects, outside circumstances, whatever that word is, then yes, but do it more. I think it's awesome. I think it's incredible that you can have a creative brain and do that in the world of sports entertainment, then do it in movies. Maybe you write a book. Maybe you go on a TV show. All of it is great. I think Becky Lynch is going to be on Star Trek soon or something like that. Obviously, Cody Rhodes popped up in The Naked Gun. All of this is fantastic. And the Street Fighter movie is going to be the dumbest thing ever, because we have Roman Reigns and Cody doing their thing as Gala's Akuma. And I understand how these rumors, sort of take off, because there is, you can find the logic within it. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily illogical. Now, I'm going to put in here never say never, because if you had told me CM Punk was going to come back to WWE, I wouldn't have believed you. If you had told me something else happened recently that I couldn't believe, AJ Lee, for example, and there are plenty of other ones, AEW just existing to begin with, I likely would have sat here, a year, 2 years before that and gone, I don't think it's going to happen. The reason I just struggled to buy this one is because I don't see why Tony Khan would do this. It'd be great for the fans, and it would be a wonderful gesture, but he knows he's not going to get this the other way, and again, nor WWE should do it either. So I don't understand why. And listen, I'm looking at this from I'm taking off my fan cap, right? 9 times out of 10, or 99% of the time, I've got my fan cap on. I'll sit here and go, oh my God, we should do John Cena versus Edge, because it would be brilliant. Of course it would. But there's no way that WWE would mention that Adam Copeland is now in AEW, and I think Tony Khan quite rightfully would want that. There's every chance that WWE take some shots at all of this. I'm sure Adam Copeland himself would be like, listen, you can't do that, but that's never stopped WWE before. And it's just not something that's working together, right? AEW and WWE. And as we have seen lately, they are so far away from ever working together. And I think that's the one thing I'd be happy to say never on, unless AEW got bought out by somebody else. But in their current guises, I can never see a cross-promotional show. I can never see an inter-promotional show. I can never see AEW versus WWE, because I just don't think it would work. I mean, look what happened at the 2001 Invasion angle. WCW got beaten because Vince McMahon basically wanted to teach them a lesson. But genuinely, if I try and look at it from a normal human's perspective, I don't think Tony Khan is good or bad. I don't think there's any emotion tied up in it for refusing to do this. It's just a smart business thing to do. If I was running a company and I was paying Adam Copeland millions of dollars, I'd be like, well, it'd be great to do it, but unfortunately that's just not the way the cards have landed. And sometimes you do have to protect your business, protect your assets, and protect your talent as you see them, because obviously Adam Copeland, he would lose that match too. There's no way Adam Copeland would win. So I think it's going to happen. I appreciate the fact that people get excited about this. I appreciate the fact where people are coming from and you see the buzz online, and it's quite fun to get swept up on it. And listen, I'm the goofiest man ever. Usually I'd be like, ugh, but I think we are getting ahead of ourselves. And listen, unless Adam Copeland's contract is totally done, but that stuff always leaks on the internet. The end of contracts always leaks for obvious reasons, because wrestlers want to play both companies off against each other, which they should do, make as much money as possible. It's one of the best things about AEW existing. The wrestling pay grade has gone up and up and up, and long may it continue to do so, because the sheer harm and pain that these guys and girls put themselves through, they deserve as much possible money as possible to be compensated for it. But I am going to be a negative Nancy today, which I actually don't mean. This is just genuinely how I feel deep down in my tum-tum. So anything that winds me up on the internet now is people talk to you in catchphrases. Like I mentioned how much I enjoyed the Darby Allin thing on Dynamite, and someone just responded, well, if WWE did that, you wouldn't like it. No, I would. And I have 10 years of content and evidence to prove this would be the case. But once again, we talk in a soundbite because that's what you would say to anybody else to try and spark the tribalistic nonsense, which I'm getting really bored of, but I've just learned, just ignore it. Who cares? They can shout into the abyss. But I can't see it. I would love it. It would be awesome. I mean, Edge and John Cena obviously have been sending love letters to each other via their moves. And I think what Edge said, Adam Copeland said in that interview is true. You know, I think Edge needed John Cena at that time and John Cena needed Edge at that time. And it really cemented them at the top of the card in like the 2005, 2006 era, especially when Edge won that first Money in the Bank title. I think most people hoped he'd be able to get there, but we needed to see it in action. And he only holds that for a month. I think Cena wins it back at the next pay-per-view, but by that point, Edge had figured out once he wanted to do it the rated R superstar, and getting to do his dance with Cena is what really put him over the top. But I think he's just going off to do something. It's just, what do you even do when he comes back? Well, everyone just has to ignore this? Like Christian Case to be like, bro, you told me you were going to take care of your family, but then I saw you wrestling John Cena. It's just not going to happen. It's way too complicated. I don't think this would have been the write-off angle either. I'm going to go 92.4% convinced that Adam Copeland is going off to do a TV show. I hope he has the best time. And this is a bigger problem for me. It means he's going to have another comeback. He's had so many comebacks since he did his big return in 2020. But at the same time, a big wrestling comeback is the best thing in the world. So what do I know? I don't know what I'm talking about. But I'm leaning on the side of no. I know you're mad about me. How dare you take away my dreams? I just can't see it happening. I don't think anybody is to blame in any of this. John Cena is retiring, and that's very sad. Adam Copeland isn't there, and that's very sad in that sense, but he's also doing great in AEW, so that's awesome. And it's not down to Tony Khan to make those things happen. Like, it's just not. And people now go, oh, Simon, you suck, Tony, all that. And I'd say it the same with Triple H. If when Sting retired, right, who's Sting's big? The Undertaker. Should we send The Undertaker over there? No, you shouldn't. You should protect your assets, to use that term again. Let's just move on and talk about Dynamite in general. Because it did end with Darby Allin. This is what I wanted to focus the video on. Because there was more chat. Just woke up this morning, just chat. People saying that Darby Allin shouldn't come out and use the flamethrower. And this is how you know people are just saying things. They said, well, he was never actually going to use it, so what's the point? He quite literally burnt Jack Perry alive at Double or Nothing either last year or the year before that. So within AEW law, and you have to go with the law that the wrestling companies present to you, he has proven that he will use this flamethrower. And therefore, if you are the Death Riders and you see him coming up with a flamethrower, you're allowed to be like, oh my gosh, he could actually use that because he did burn Jack Perry alive. Now, you can argue, listen, the bigger problem, which I'd think about, I should have mentioned on Ups and Downs and I didn't, so go laugh at me over on What Culture, and please subscribe to them and subscribe to me as well, is how was John Moxley fine? He was burned alive at All Out. Genuinely forgot. All Out to me feel like it happens 7 years ago. So that's on me. I made a mistake. Sometimes it happens. I hold my hands up. But thankfully, I get to talk about it on here instead. That was ridiculous. Not one mark on him. Totally fine. That was stupid. Although it does explain why I'm so damn scared of the flamethrower. But my big takeaway was this. I'm not saying you have to like it. I'm saying you can have a line. This is too goofy. It's too ridiculous. Not a problem. As long as that corresponds to every single thing that wrestling companies do. And it's not tribalistic. You know how I feel about these things. The crazier, the better. But if I was 13, right, and I knew that I could send a text message to my friends saying, guys, Darby Allin finished Dynamite coming out with a flamethrower, I'd be so happy. In the same way as I'm happy with a lot of nonsense that we did in WCW and WWE in that late 90s period. They also went too far. I just think flamethrowers are cool, man. It's like reading a graphic novel. And if I was a wrestler and I got to finish the show with a flamethrower, I'd be pretty much amped through the roof. So I didn't have a problem at all. In fact, it made me laugh out loud. And in terms of then offering an I Quit match to John Moxley, and John Moxley being like, I'm not sure I want to do this, sure, because he may set fire to you and force you into an I Quit match. I thought they were going to do an Inferno match. When I saw the flames again, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what they're going to do. But they went a different way, although I'm sure they're going to incorporate fire for obvious reasons. But in no world do I want Darby Allin to come out with a chair or a kendo stick. You know how much I've seen that kind of stuff? Arguably, we do too much plunder in wrestling these days. So he does have a gimmick weapon, much like Triple H had a sledgehammer, or Mick Foley had barbed wire, I guess you could say, or Sting had the baseball bat. I love the fact that Darby Allin has gone to the extreme. My favourite criticism to this is that flamethrowers aren't cool in 2025 anymore. Look, a kid wouldn't find a flamethrower cool. I'm sure there's plenty of kids that don't, and I'm sure there's plenty of kids that do. I like to think that I'm still sort of in touch with my childlike side, which apparently is something I need to get rid of. Never, man. I always want to have that innocence. I find flamethrowers cool. Even now in my late 30s, I find flamethrowers cool. I'm never not going to find flamethrowers cool, okay? And maybe that makes me an idiot. That's totally fine. I'm not saying it wasn't stupid. I'm not saying you can't pick holes in it, but you can do that with all of wrestling. Sometimes I just think you need to take it on the surface level. I think sometimes you just got to enjoy it for what it is. And let's not forget before that too, Chris Statlander had turned down the Death Riders. Now, Wheeler Yuta was back out whispering in her ear, "You should beat me in a Jerichoa," with my move, which she did do. She used the seatbelt pin, whatever the flub it's called, for like the third time in a row, but she didn't. She turned around, smacked him in the face, flipped John Moxley off right to his jaw, which really made me laugh, and ducked Marina Shafir too. I wouldn't have minded if she had joined. I think that would have been interesting, especially because the Death Riders have been going through a bad time, so you can add more members, but you can argue that role went to Pac. But the only issue I have with this is that Hangman Adam Page also came out to confront the Death Riders after, I can't even remember what match it is now. It'll pop into my head in just 1 second. I think, it was the Samoa Joe and Powerhouse Hobbs Claudio Castagnoli stuff. I would have kept Hangman out of it for 2 reasons. One, he's already cut the head of the snake. He beat John Moxley at All In. I don't think he needs to get back involved with those guys. And 2, Chris Statlander is now the person that's going to get involved with those guys for a story we've been telling for a matter of weeks. I'm not a huge fan of when you have the men's world champion, the women's world champion, or more often on WWE, it's on each side on Raw or SmackDown, where you kind of see a correlation between stories. I think it's better to be a little bit more creative. Not saying they're deliberately being uncreative, but, well, you can argue that fact. And to me, Hangman should be off doing his own thing. The Hangman doesn't really have a specific challenger at the moment, which I find interesting. Whereas Chris Statlander, I feel, being the brand new champion, will have plenty of challenges, but I need to see that one play out. But the fact they both had open challenges on this one as well, Chris Statlander took on Minoru Okara, and Lee Moriarty was Hangman Adam Page's one, which was fine. Like, he opened up the show saying, "I'm doing an open challenge," and we were in Lee Moriarty's hometown, and he basically whooped his ass. Like, Lee got in a lot of offense, but it never felt like he was going to win. Just when you kind of get those parallels, I'm like, okay, it kind of feels a little bit similar. We can do different stuff. But all the matches were really good. And, the big stopping point was Chris Statlander is not going to be joining the Death Riders. I think Harley Cameron's in trouble. I think they're going to go after her and do something terrible. If this ties into Willow Nightingale stuff, I don't know, because, of course, she did something different elsewhere. But I think we should probably get to the point where we can do Chris Statlander versus Marina Shafir for that championship, only because Marina Shafir is always off in the background, but she's also a very dominant character on the show. And I think it's time to, I don't say put up or shut up, that's way too strong. We haven't really seen her in many matches, and there'll be a tag team that I'm not thinking about here. Maybe it can be Wheeler Yuta and Marina versus Harley Cameron and Chris Statlander. I doubt we'll do that. But I think it's time to move Marina into that position, and given all the shenanigans she has been causing, especially here, I think you can probably justify it. And then, yeah, she has to do a good job, for lack of a better term, but it's not the end of the world if she doesn't. But we should put her in that position and see what we can do. And it's also a decent feud against the Death Riders that Chris Statlander can win. And we saw how much they can help Hangman, so I think it will help her too. And that's why, just because it feels a little bit samey, I would try and keep them separate. Although, maybe Tony Khan is playing through Hangman and Chris taking on a couple of guys. Well, it would be Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir, I suppose. That is quite a big match. We wait and see. But it wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. And Chris Statlander as a champion is just great. I'm very excited to see what she can do. It's long overdue. We talked about that Hangman match as well. Yes, I think it was just to get him into competition. I suppose it does really tie into Claudio versus Powerhouse Hobbs, which was excellent. Just 2 big dudes smashing each other. Pac causes the distraction, allows Claudio to get the cigar uppercut. I shouldn't have done that. And the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, 1, 2, 3. Then everybody's running out. I think Shibata's in Japan, but it was sold on AEW as he's not medically cleared. So Samoa Joe comes out. No man's land, wrestling balance against him, the numbers aren't in his favour, which when Hangman comes down to make the save, I mean, it could be Hangman versus Pac, actually, going back to what I just said, and I love that match, I really do. I know we've seen it before, but it is brilliant, and with the world title on the line, listen, I'm biased towards Pac. I think Pac is one of the best wrestlers that people don't talk about. I think he changed the game in many ways. I think he was massively underutilized in WWE. We've talked about this. Yeah, just going back in with the Death Riders kind of makes me raise an eyebrow a little bit. But whatever Hangman does, it just needs to be a bit more structured. Like the Carl Fletcher thing kind of came last minute. And we've got a few weeks or a month, whatever it is, to Wrestle Dream. So whatever he's going to do, let's throw him into him. Let's do some promos and let's do some sort of proper old school babyface stuff. Because he does have that about him, right? People like him, and he's not like a sort of a heel that's a good guy. He's just an out-and-out nice guy that just sometimes has emotional problems, which we can all relate to. So whatever we're going to do there, I think we need to throw him into it. This, I thought it was a good episode of Dynamite, but it was one of those where maybe we're resetting the pieces a little bit before we know where we are going. But we wait and see. Like, I mean, is Hangman now going to do something with the opportunities? Samoa Joe's group? Can you do a 6-man tag? I do not know. Although, actually, I do have something to say about those trios belts. Because the first match was Bandito Brodito taking on the Gates of Agony. Don't mind this at all. We did see Ricochet and his boys get a win at the pay-per-view, but I kind of felt like they should have gone after the trios titles again. I know they did it recently, and obviously it was the Hurt Syndicate that screwed them over. But when you win a trios match, I think you should go after a trios belts before you get your tag team titles shot. I do not mind the Gates of Agony doing this. I think they've come such a long way, man. Those two guys are awesome right now. And Bandito and Brody King getting more wins is only going to be good for their title reign. They've sort of defended them so much now in big situations. They don't feel like a thrown-together team anymore. They actually feel like something viable and you can believe. And they're so damn fun, man. Sometimes I do want to watch wrestling just to have a good time. And again, Gates of Agony is just fantastic. And Ricochet on commentary did a great job too. But they did lose here. So now if all of a sudden they go for the trios titles next week, it just becomes a little bit like, well, I think you could have done it the other way around. And I think, I think don't call it a negative too strong, but a constructive, critical point that I would have is the trios titles need to be developed more. We need more trios teams going after them. There's just so much more we can do, and we have the teams to do it, right? So that would be something that would be nice to be cleared up. But this was still a good match, and it was funny we didn't see the Hurt Syndicate at all, although Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin could be dead after I think it was Toa Leona smashed them over Barry Barricade, and Khan did it as well. Really, really murked them. But it was still good. Like, it was still like a really, really fun match. I just think in all the title matches we had this evening, there was no jeopardy. And that's not the end of the world because it's a television match and it's a television title shot, so it'd be rare for you to do it. And the people involved do get moved up the ladder a little bit. But I still think that what they called the demand are probably going to go after the trios champions at some point. I think they'll win them as well. I would have done it that way round and then been like, we've done this, we're smashing those guys, can we have a title match? But maybe there's a reason we had to do it now. I don't know. But it was still good, and it's great that we do have a brand new tag team. And actually, there's a couple of guys that could also tie into this scene. Because after Adam Copeland told Christian Cage, I got to go away, we cut to FTR and Stokely Hathaway that made me laugh out loud. They didn't really want to attack Beth Phoenix, but she got in the way. And if you get in the way, screw you. And Dax saw like you punched me in the nose. I had a broken nose. I couldn't see what I was doing. I thought you were Adam Copeland. Really, really ran them down. I think when we get back round to this feud, FTR should be the tag team champions. But at the same time, I think that Brodito should probably be feuding with the Young Bucks. So that's an interesting... I don't know how you do that, but we have to wait and see. But what was massively more intriguing is that Willow Nightingale was the person to come out and say, excuse me, you can't be horrible about Beth Phoenix with your faux apology. Maybe you should do it for real. Stokely Hathaway was then just such a dickhead to her. So she slapped him around the face. And it was Jet Speed that came out to make the save. Now, this makes me believe we'll do Willow Nightingale versus Stokely Hathaway. And we can do, because Willow can murk that man and he will make it so damn funny. And it's a good victory for Willow, who is really special, by the way. They have something with her and they could do more. And hopefully that is the plan. Obviously, we're going to the FTR Jet Speed feud, and I think that makes sense because for FTR to get a title shot, they have to get a couple of wins. They did lose to Edge and Christian at All Out, so be a team like Jet Speed, be a team like somebody else. Then they can go right into the thing with Brodito, unless we're going to do something with the Young Bucks as well. Win them, Edge and Christian come back, and then they win the titles off that. I think that works really well. And also, you could probably have two matches there, because I think FTR could probably win the first title match they have, because again, they lost it All Out. Then Adam Copeland and Christian can say, right, you know what, one more time, and we'll put our careers on the line. Go over the top, go so silly. And that will tell you what's going to happen, but that's fine. They win the championships. And then we've gone full circle. But this FTR team is great. They're so funny. And in a good way, like an obnoxious asshole where they're doing such great work. And hopefully Dax can have a few weeks off to heal that broken nose, which does look terrible. But I would like Willow Nightingale to be put back into a bigger position as well. I mean, Chris Statlander. I mean, it should be Chris Statlander versus Willow because they have due cause. They're both baby faces, but there is history there. So maybe after the Marina thing, Willow could be waiting in the wings too. Although we didn't see Mercedes Moné on this show either. And she's someone else that probably, I think she may be busy, but I think there's a chance she may have been taken off the show because there's not really direction for her either. So I think a lot of the champions we have at the moment just need to be thrown into proper feuds that can develop on TV. Although there is one that is kind of doing that, but also not really. Because after the return of Orange Cassidy, which was great, I love the fact that during his video it came up with, was it media file not found, something I deal with all the time. Some people think that was a real error. If it was, it's the best place error of all time because it works for Orange Cassidy's character. They were taking on the Don Callis family, and of course they won. A hologram got the pin. And the reason for that is because Carl Fletcher came out right afterwards and said, yeah, hologram, mate, you win all these matches, you never take it on me. And even though I'm sad about my Hangman Adam Page loss and my accent's gone bad, I want to take on you. Title versus streak. So that's wonderful. I think, holograms, that's like 38-0 or 34-0 or something like that. He needs a title shot. You could actually change it, to be completely honest with you. I don't think that would affect Carl Fletcher at all, as long as you allow him to promo and get back up. But I think Carl Fletcher ultimately will win. And with the TNT title belt, it's the one belt that I completely go, hypocritical to the rest of them. This can be, you take someone on, you move on to somebody else. You take somebody on and move on to something else. Because really, it comes from the days where like ECW or whatever, or WCW would have a TV title, which essentially was, we're going to hold off our world title matches for a pay-per-view because we want to buy them. It's kind of a concept that's died down, whereas we'll literally have a TV title, which will be our world title that gets defended on TV. That's not really what it was, but you take what I'm saying. And I think right now, if the goal is to get Carl Fletcher to the main event, which quite clearly he's ready for, he proved that at the weekend. Matches, win, and then much like when Stone Cold Steve Austin gave the Intercontinental title to The Rock, but when the time has come, he can lose, like Gunther did, right? He lost to Sami Zayn, but he went straight to that world title picture. That's what you can do with Carl Fletcher. So I like this, and I like the fact we gave Carl Fletcher promo time to say, I am sad that Hangman Adam Page beat me. I am mad about this, but I remember I'm TNT title. I'm going to get back. I'm going to beat you all and prove that I can be the super duper proto star. So it was good. Sometimes you just have to do simple stuff and let people speak on the microphone. And Carl Fletcher is getting better at that as well. So yeah, I'm a big old fan. I don't think massively anything else happened on Dynamite. No Eddie Kingston, but he has been announced for Collision. So I'm like, okay, these are two important shows. We can't go, I can't believe what's on Dynamite if we want Collision to be treated as an A show as well. I sometimes do that by accident because I don't look. More shame on me. I really should do that. But I think it is Eddie Kingston and Hook taking on Big Bill and Brian Keith. I think they're doing that. And then we get into to whatever else. I think you can probably tell that the admission of Kenny Omega, Swerve Strickland, Will Ospreay, all for valid reasons, has sort of hampered where we may be going with a lot of these stories. But that's injuries. In wrestling, it's like football or soccer for my American friends. You have to be ready to deal with it because we are dealing with a very high-impact sport. But I enjoyed the show. Like, there were a couple of things I was like, not entirely sure about that. But overall, I enjoyed the show. And let's not forget the Young Bucks weren't on this either. And they are super-duper whooper stars. And Kenny Omega, I think, will be back sooner than the other two. Probably to take on Carl Fletcher, which is actually going to get to what I just said. That will be absolutely massive. But never take away my flamethrowers, man. You don't have to like it. That's not what I'm saying. If you want to sit down and have a sort of an intelligent conversation about why you don't like it, I promise I will listen and I'll hear your points, and please listen to mine as well. When it just comes down to, well, you wouldn't like it if WWE did it, or it's just so stupid he wouldn't use the flamethrower. When he's used it, let's at least look at the evidence and present it in the way that it's meant to. And let's always remember, you can't like everything that is presented to you. And I throw myself into that conversation as well. Wrestling isn't written for me. Wrestling isn't written for you. We have 52 weeks of programming a year. Like I say, sometimes you're going to love it and sometimes you're going to hate it more than anything else. There was a time about a month ago where I actually thought, if only I could take a month's break. I shouldn't say that because I'm very blessed to do what I do. But it's just a lot of content to take in all the time. And you're going to have ups and downs and peaks and troughs. And who would know more about that than me? More importantly, let me know what you thought about AEW Dynamite last night in the comments below. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the video on the screen, where I also loved Raw as well. So I'm just having a great week. I think both WW and AEW had a much better week coming out of the pay-per-views than maybe they have been doing, which is good. Otherwise, if you are into fitness supplements, go to GorillaMind.com and use the code Simon to get 10% off and 30% off some flavors as well. I wouldn't promote these if I don't use them, but I do, and I think they're absolutely awesome. Otherwise, what is it? It's my new fitness channel that's down there. It's my watch-alongs, patreon.com/Simon316. Simon316 on social media, and Simon on TikTok, and Simon on Cameo, and Big Cartel and Pro Wrestling Tees. Otherwise, take care of yourself, my friends. I appreciate you. See you on the next one.